Hello, welcome to the Crystal Claire channel. And in this series of videos, I'm sharing information that I channeled around Britney Spears after I kind of lost touch about what happened with her after the conservatorship ended. I don't watch media, I don't read magazines, I don't read headlines, I don't follow Hollywood in any way. And you can listen to more in the first two videos. I talk about generally what's happening, what happened after the conservatorship ended. It actually got worse for her. And also what's actually happening with her husband. And in this video, I'm sharing more about her dad. So and a couple other things that my guys wanted me to share. So back when I was following this a little bit several years ago, I heard that her dad had this conservatorship of control over her. And I remember seeing him say, if I hadn't been if there wasn't this conservatorship, I'd be scared for Britney's life, that she might not be alive. And I felt like he was alluding to maybe her being mentally ill. And I remember there was a lot of headlines around that mental illness. And I'd go into this more in the first two videos, but there's no mental illness. The only illness that's occurring is out of her being she doesn't have control over her situation. Things are being put in her food and her water, and also there's stuff happening when she's sleeping, which I don't know what that's about. I didn't go into that. I may, but it feels really heavy. So when I looked into what more about her dad, what they showed me is that even though he was in charge of her conservatorship, there was a couple things going on. He did end up kind of falling into the greed, corruption trap a little bit. He did. But this was also put together, and this is blowing my mind, and I had never even thought of this. I didn't even know this stuff existed. But this also was put together to protect her from people above him. So my guides were kept saying throughout the time that I channeled this, Britney is a brand. Britney is a brand. And that is how she's used, and that is how she's seen. And there's a lot of money to be made from the Britney brand. She doesn't have control over what's happening. And so her dad kind of was inserted. I don't even know if he was inserted or kind of raised his hand and said, here, let me kind of be the buffer, is the word that my guides are using, the buffer between the people that are really in control and Britney. So while she was forced to tour, and I have, since I've channeled, I went online because I haven't seen anything about Britney I knew a little bit about the conservatorship, but I hadn't followed her since she was really big in the 90s, really. And when I went online, within a couple days after channeling all this, I went to her YouTube channel. Obviously, she's not, posting anything real and authentic. It's all just videos of the past and her performances. And it doesn't take a psychic to see in her face that she's not happy, right? And we know that. She shared that she was forced to perform. So we haven't seen her since because the powers that be, and I talk about this in other videos, are trying to figure out what to do now. They're not ready to release her. They're not going to release her. There's no plan to release her. So her father actually, I feel they showed me that there's some fear from him around what's going to happen to her, not because of her own threat to herself, but because of the threat from others, people who do not plan to release her. And so I don't know, we might start seeing that in the next months or years, more about that coming out. But we're going to see coming up more attempts to discredit her and her mental illness, because the powers that be that are over her are trying to create a certain narrative so that they can, when they decide what to do about the situation, they'll have already planted the seeds for a while. This divorce is part of it. And I go into that in my last video, more about what's happening with Sam and where all that started. So her father isn't actually the one pulling the strings, which I had assumed before. It's actually people above him. So what is happening here is she really needs to, when I asked my guides, deeper what's really going on. Well, first of all, I did channel her soul contracts, and I'm not going to share her personal contracts here, but I asked what else is going on, because this is what I've been doing the last few years, is channeling soul contracts for people. This is my day job, and it's beautiful and it's supportive and it's amazing. And so when I see that everyone has soul contracts here, I said, well, there's got to be something bigger going on. And this is what they shared with me. They said, how do I say this? It's really emotional, actually, because there's Britney, the person, who is trapped. And then there is the bigger thing that's going on from a cosmic perspective, which is one of her what is happening here. Part of what my guide said is happening here on a cosmic level is that she is a mirror for what's happening across our globe. And I said, what? Tell me more. So think about this. I'm not going to go into much detail. This is where I'm going to leave this up to you, and for you to be introspective. But where are we seeing that people are trusting the people are entrusting themselves and their well-being to others? The people who are supposed to be having our well-being in mind, people that are supposed to be taking care of us. Where is that illusion created where it's not really happening? Where are we trusting that our food and water sources are clean, and they're not? So that's kind of what they shared with me. I don't get into that too much because I don't like to dive into those rabbit holes, but they said that she's here to be a mirror to many people, to cause them to go inside and say, where does this sound familiar? She is a single human being that's taken on a very, very, very difficult and hard and sad soul contract to help the collective see where this is happening in their own life and start making different choices and start seeking to be surrounded by different things and choosing to go inside for guidance and their belief systems versus outside, and trusting their life and their well-being with others. Now, obviously, Britney didn't have a choice. That's not the point. She was kind of taken over. The whole situation of her mental illness back 15, 20 years ago, whenever all that started, I don't know, that was all orchestrated. Because this group of people were forward thinking, how can we gain control over her? And they started by patiently building the case of mental illness. So as we can see where that's gone, you can see that is continuing to start, and they're actually really, really, really banking on and leveraging the mental illness, story or narrative in preparation for making other decisions that are coming down the road. So it's not good. It's very, very sad. And if you have any questions of things that you want me to channel specifically around Britney or what's going on, if you have other people that you're curious about, again, I don't know what's going on in Hollywood or the music industry or anything public. I only know what people send me. So if you want me to look at those things specifically, let me know. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video. And for anyone who's a Britney fan, who's a true Britney fan out there, since there's no way to band together in her comments anymore and pull together, I know there's a way. I know you can find a way to do it again.